It's the Blues Rock Show with Pete Francis and Willie Witten.
Welcome to the Blues Rock Show. Pete Francis alongside Willie Witten. Today, our special guest is Quinn Sullivan. He has a new album coming out June 4th, Wide Awake. Quinn, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so Quinn, the first time I ever heard you play was 10 years ago. You were 12 years old, and you were actually opening up for Buddy Guy at Summerfest in Milwaukee. And I actually had a chance to interview you before that show. So it's been a long time, and it's been really fun to kind of see your growth. And speaking of Buddy Guy, obviously you got to open up for him. Are there any like big lessons that you learned from your time working with him?
Yeah. I mean, Summerfest, that was such a fun show. I remember that so vividly. I always say that the best advice that Buddy Guy has ever given me hasn't really been something that he's like, deliberately said to me. It's been more of just watching him do his thing over the years and watching him play and how he acts towards people and how he treats everybody so well. And, I guess I'd say the biggest lesson that I've learned is pretty much to give 110% of like whatever you have on every show that you do. I think that's so important to kind of carry in your career, is to just give that, energy, always have that energy level be 100% every time you step on stage, because I've seen Buddy do it for so long and, for 10 years. And, even when he wasn't feeling well, or, I've been with Buddy when he's lost family members and he still goes on stage and gives it his all. So I truly, I'll always be inspired by that. So, yeah.
When you look at your career, and I know this is super early because you're, Quinn, what, 22 years old?
22, yeah.
All right, congratulations. You're an old man these days. You started playing when you were 3, and so you talk about giving 110%.
Yeah.
Is that something you feel like you're going to love and always be able to do this? And what I guess I'm asking is, you've been around music for so long. Can you envision yourself doing anything else? Or is this something where you feel like you can't think of doing anything else? You always want to do this. There will always be inspiration for you.
I think there'll always be inspiration. Before anything, I'm just a huge fan of music. I've always loved music. It's always been my favorite thing to do, just as a hobby, you know what I mean? And I'm lucky enough where my hobby is my career, so I'm able to, translate what I love about it into what I do as a job. And I think that's a pretty amazing amazing opportunity to be able to do that. I think I'll always be staying inspired by whatever's happening in my career. It definitely is something that I want to do for the rest of my life and definitely carry on. It's a part of me, and the guitar for me and singing and songwriting has always been something. It's just the way I can, the best way I can express myself, and I feel like the guitar is a way that I'm able to express everything that I have in my head. So yeah, it's always, it's a stress reliever, but it's also like a part of me at the same time, Yeah.
And Quinn, we talked about how you got to play with Buddy Guy and you opened for Buddy Guy a lot. One of the cool opportunities you've also had was you got to go play at Crossroads and you met Eric Clapton and you got BB King there. And this was at a very young age. I think you were 14?
Yeah, I was 14. Yeah.
Did it hit you back then, just like how big of a deal that was?
It actually, I still think about that now, and I don't think it did probably at 14. I probably, because at that point, everything seemed to have been happening so fast. I had all of these opportunities coming at me. I did Crossroads and then I actually did Jimmy Fallon like 3 months later. Then I was on Ellen 3 months after that. So I was doing a lot of high profile stuff at that age. So I don't think any of that was really clicking in my mind, probably until 2 or 3 years later. I really thought about it and I saw the video back and I was like, damn, I got to do that. And it's really one of those things where it was an outer body experience for me. I mean, I had no idea that I'd ever be able to do something like that. And at such a young age too. I think it's just it's something that it would be hard for, I think, any 13, 14-year-old kid to grasp that, at that age, to be able to say, wait, I'm playing where and with who, But yeah, I look back at it now as as obviously one of the biggest highlights of my life and my career. And you know, to be able to hang out with those people, and for those guys and girls to let me into their world, is you know, it's something that you don't really get people don't get that every day. So you know, I truly am grateful for that opportunity. Yeah.
What memories really kind of stick out when you look back at that experience?
Oh man, I mean, so many. I mean, just the fact of all the people that I got to meet. I got to meet Eric Clapton for the second time. I met Eric for the first time at this Hubert Sumlin tribute show that they had done at the Apollo Theater after he had passed away, and I got to meet Eric briefly. But yeah, I mean, that was the second time meeting him, and I got to meet Greg Allman for the first time, and that was pretty amazing moment for me because I'm a huge Allman Brothers fan. I've loved the Allman Brothers since I was 5 years old. So that was a very full circle moment for me to be able to meet him and you know, spend a little bit of time with him. I got to meet John Mayer for the first time, another one of my biggest influences and inspirations. And you know, I got to meet Jeff Beck and you know, just all of these cool people. And just the fact that Buddy was able to make that happen for me, I think it really shows how much he cares and how much he cares about, you know, not only me, but just cares about, you know, sort of the younger generation, you know, still playing real music and carrying that on in some way, you know. So I think he wanted to put me out there on, you know, he knew that was such a big platform and big show, you know, and festival. So to be able to do something like that was just insane. Yeah, I mean, so many memories, but those are the ones that stick out for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Quinn, I just, as an aside, I enjoyed the fact that you get to say, oh, the first time, no, was it the second time I met Clapton? I sort of enjoy, you get to sort of list which time was it that I met these people.
Yeah, it truly, you know, and it's pretty amazing. And I you know, I'm super lucky for those opportunities. And you know, a lot of people sometimes ask me like, oh, well, how are they as people? And you know, I got to say, I've had very cool experiences. I haven't had a bad experience yet with someone that I admire. You know how they say sometimes, like, you know, you shouldn't meet your heroes, you know, and because you don't want to kind of ruin that magic that you have about them. Those guys that are on your wall as a kid, and you know, you look up to them so much. But you know, I've had very cool opportunities. You know, I've gotten to spend some time with Carlos Santana over the last few years, and he's become kind of a friend of mine, and that's so surreal in itself. And you know, Eric was very nice to me when I met him. So, you know, yeah, these guys are just, at the end of the day, they're just people, you know, and as cool as they are, and as amazing as they are, and talented as they are, they're also just human beings. So, you know, yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Well, and this genre is a very kind of tight knit community. And I think that really is important because a lot of this music is not really mainstream type music. You know,
Sure.
it's not really played so much on the radio. So I think it's important that it's very tight knit like that. And people in this genre do get along.
I think so, you know, and I love when I see, you know, a guitar player like, you know, whoever, like Marcus King or Kerry Clark Jr., some of the newer guys that are coming out that seem to be bringing it to more of a mainstream level, which I really love. And I'm seeing that more and more every day. So, you know, that's always been my goal as an artist, is to, you know, carry on the genre, but also put my own thing on it and make it new and modern and you know, and carry it on in a modern way where younger people can understand it and get it, you know, because I think it's such a great style of music and I love it so much. And, you know, I think with the new album that I'm coming out with, it's like, I've kind of taken all of those influences and put it into one album and have kind of showcased my writing more and my singing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that new album, Wide Awake, you can definitely see the progression on this. And, you know, as someone who's seen you since you're 12 years old, I can definitely see the growth and how much you've matured since then. Kind of what were your goals with this album? And what have you kind of learned from your previous albums? And how do you think you've grown on this one?
I mean, I think I've grown as a writer on this album for sure. I think spending time with other people, you know, I got to say that the producer of this album, Oliver Lieber, was a huge supporter and help of you know, my growth in the last few years. You know, I spent a lot of time making this album. You know, I I've always made albums quickly in a few months, you know, and this one I really wanted to take my time on this one just because I really wanted to, you know, establish who I wanted to be as an artist, what I wanted to say on this album. And, you know, I just wanted to be a bit more careful, I guess, this time around on what I wanted to say, because, you know, I knew this one was kind of it was kind of a step up for me, because, you know, all my albums kind of came out when I was a kid. You know, the last one was out when I was 17, so I wasn't even 18 yet. So I knew that this one I wanted to make an adult album, a real cool album that showcases me at 22 and what I'm up to. So yeah, I mean, I think the biggest lessons that I've learned have been through the songwriting process, and, you know, just what I wanted to say on this album, you know, just what I wanted the album to sound like. And I got to spend a lot of time in LA doing it with Oliver, and a bunch of other great writers came in and wrote these songs with us. And, you know, most of the songs were actually written by Oliver and I, but we actually brought in some other writers to help out on some of the songs. So yeah, I'm truly proud of this one. I feel like it's sort of a coming of age album for me in some ways. And, you know, I'm just excited for people to hear it, you know?
So Quinn, on this album, from what I've heard, and Pete and I spoke about this briefly, and one of the things that came across my mind was when you talk about this is maybe your first album, serious album as an adult.
Yeah.
One of the things that came across to me was that even with everything that's gone on, there's a tone of hopefulness in the album.
Yeah, I think.
Where does that come from? Because I think a lot of people would come out of this past year and not have that. Where is that coming from? But I think there is some of that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think when I was making the album, it was actually before the pandemic and before all of the social issues that came up in 2020. So none of that had really been happening yet. So the album was made before that, you know. And I guess it just made sense to. It made sense to put out, you know, the first single, All Around the World. And I think probably that one to me is the most hopeful song on the album, you know, because it just has this sense of joy and sense of unity and people coming together. And we just thought, like, because everybody's had such a tough 2020 and tough year and a half, I just felt like, you know, that was the first song that I really wanted to put out. And funny enough, it was actually, like I said, written before everything happened. So it was like, we weren't even thinking about that, but it ended up just making sense at the end. And we were like, oh, this totally makes sense to put out. You know, because I've always been one to think that, you know, music brings hope to people, you know, and it brings good healing vibes over to people that are struggling. And, you know, we all have struggles in some ways, you know. So I think I was just making sure that this album had a flavor of that unity and togetherness, and you know, there's other themes too. I mean, there's a lot of like relationship themes and love and all that stuff that you know, all the things that 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kid is going through, you know, and you know, things that I was writing about. And but yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I think that there's definitely a theme of togetherness and positivity in this album. Yeah.
Now, Quinn, you just put out a new single, In a World Without You, and you released a music video for that. Can you tell us a little bit about what was behind that track?
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite songs on the new album. I really love that song, and I guess I love it because to me, it just showcases everything that I love about music and everything that I love about putting music out. I just think it showcases the guitar playing that I love, and you know, the groove that I love. And the song really came together in the studio. I mean, Oliver and I were just playing guitars back and forth, and I had actually started coming up with this chord progression, and we were playing it for about an hour, and then the song kind of wrote itself after that. I mean, that was one that really wasn't a big, huge process. It was just, you know, my favorite songs that are on the album are songs that were actually written quite quickly, and we sort of just did that in about an hour or two, and we wrote the words, and it just kind of came out of us, you know. And the video was actually filmed in Marlboro, New York. And we have these friends who have a band called The Restless Age, Lee Falco on drums, Brandon Morrison on bass, and Will Bryant playing keyboards. And we actually, I hit them up and asked if they wanted to do this with me, and they totally were down with it. And so we went up to their studio called Building Records up by their house, and shot this video. And yeah, I wanted this song and this video to have a full band vibe, because the other two videos that I put out didn't have a band. And so I really wanted this one to showcase, because I feel like this is just such a live, energetic kind of song, and I wanted just to have that full band atmosphere. So so we did it up there, and we did it in about a day, and yeah, it's just came out yesterday. So I'm super happy so far with the response that it's gotten. So yeah.
So you have a new album coming out. You're 22 years old. The pandemic is starting to lessen. Things are opening back up. What is next for you? Short term and then also medium term. What are you thinking?
Sure. Well, short term, we're trying to get some shows for the summer. We're in the middle of booking some stuff. You know, things are kind of slowly coming back. So you know, I think all the booking agents are sort of trying to get everything together. You know, and but yeah, we definitely people can definitely expect some shows later this summer and fall for sure. And we already have some stuff that we've announced and stuff that's already been confirmed. So definitely things are happening, and I'm really happy to see that live music's coming back, because we all miss playing so much. So you know, we're ready to get back to it. I think. Yeah, I think the first few months of this pandemic were kind of nice to sit back and sort of reflect for a little bit. But I think with this new album out, and I want to get back to what I think I do best, and that's playing live. So I want to get back to it and with the guys and stuff. But I guess medium would be, you know, hopefully having my own headlining tour at some point in 2022 and getting back out there and doing that. And, you know, yeah, we're just going to tour this album and just, you know, play it for people. We just want to do it. Yeah.
Well, Quinn, is someone who got to see you play live when you're 12 years old and kind of see what you're doing right now. It's pretty cool to see the growth that you've had, and hopefully this album is a big success for you. It comes out on June 4th, and we just want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been great.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys so much for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
All right. Well, make sure to hit that subscribe button, but that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Blues Rock Show. For Quinn Sullivan and Willie Witten, I'm Pete Francis. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.